A weary musician named Herb retreats from fame and the chaos of his former life. He is invited to a remote island by an enthusiastic and eccentric fan named Charles. Herb arrives at the island soaked and irritable. Charles greets him with overwhelming energy. The island is beautiful but isolated. There is no proper hotel. There is no harbor. There are few facilities. Herb is confused and uncomfortable. Charles reveals that he is hosting Herb in his own home. He speaks fondly of a past concert. He insists he is a longtime fan. Herb is polite but distant. Charles is odd but well-meaning. He tries to make Herb feel at home. He offers him a bath. He presents snacks and drinks. He refers to the supplies as a Winona Ryder. Herb is overwhelmed by Charles's energy. He remains focused on the gig. Charles reveals the gig is private. Herb expects an audience. Charles insists it is just him. Herb is stunned. He thought there would be dozens. Charles claims he only said fewer than 100. The performance space is a makeshift stage outdoors. There is no real setup. Herb is frustrated but trapped. The pay is significant. Charles offers him half up front. The rest comes after the gig. Herb is uneasy but accepts. He wants to fund his next album. He agrees to go through with it. He tries to contact his manager. His phone is soaked. He borrows a payphone. The island store has no rice. Charles is cheerful and unbothered. Herb calls his manager. He jokes about the situation. He compares it to misery. He suggests Charles is obsessive. He reassures himself it will be over soon. He says Charles is harmless. He describes him as a sap. Charles overhears some of this. He pretends not to. Herb regrets speaking so openly. Charles grows more intense. He asks about Herb's past. He brings up Nell, Herb's ex-bandmate and ex-girlfriend. Herb becomes guarded. Charles continues to pry. Herb becomes uncomfortable. He wants privacy. Charles apologizes but keeps digging. Herb learns that Charles has invited Nell to the island. Nell is coming with her husband Michael. Herb is furious. He was not told. Charles claims it was a surprise. Nell confirms her arrival. Herb confronts Charles. Charles deflects. He claims he meant no harm. Herb is thrown emotionally. He did not expect to see Nell again. Nell is polite but awkward. Michael is friendly and clueless. He greets Herb with warmth. Herb is civil but rattled. He avoids conflict. He tries to stay focused. Charles is obsessed with Herb and Nell's past music. He wants them to play together. He hints at specific songs. Herb refuses. Nell seems hesitant. Charles insists it is his event. He says he is paying. Herb becomes defensive. He demands to know who Charles really is. Charles reveals he won the lottery. Twice. He used the money to buy the island house. He has no real job. He spends his time alone. He idolizes Herb's music. He romanticizes the past. He wants to recreate it. The pressure builds. Herb feels trapped. Charles becomes more erratic. He plays old recordings. He photographs Herb without permission. He jokes about controlling the set list. He suggests the past should be relived. Herb begins to panic. He no longer feels safe. He tries to assert boundaries. He considers leaving. Charles pleads with him. He insists this is all out of love. He claims he just wants to hear the music again. Herb confronts Nell. They speak cautiously. There is unresolved tension. They remember the good times. They also remember the pain. Michael is oblivious to the emotional weight. He talks about birds and travel. He misreads the situation. He represents the ordinary world outside this strange reunion. Charles continues to press for the performance. He wants it exactly as he remembers it. He is trying to preserve something lost. Herb sees the danger. He realizes Charles is not just a fan. He is someone who has built his life around a memory. Herb feels the weight of that obsession. He considers what it means to be the object of someone's fantasy. He resents it. As the performance approaches, Herb must decide. He can walk away. He can stay silent. Or he can play the music that no longer belongs to him. He chooses to reclaim it. He chooses to play. But not for Charles. He plays for himself. He plays for closure. He plays for the part of him that still believes in music. Nell joins him. They share a moment. It is not reconciliation. It is not a reunion. It is a farewell. Charles watches in awe. He is moved. But he does not get what he wants. He cannot freeze time. He cannot relieve the past. The gig ends. Herb prepares to leave. The island remains. Charles remains. The moment passes. The music fades. Life moves on. Herb McGuire arrives on a remote island where he has been invited to reunite with his former bandmate and ex-partner Nell Mortimer. They are set to perform a private gig organized by Charles, a wealthy and enthusiastic fan who has collected memorabilia and secured both artists to play for an intimate crowd. Nell is accompanied by her current partner Michael, who appears well-meaning but slightly awkward around the past shared by Nell and Herb. Upon arriving, tension surfaces between Herb and Nell as they revisit old songs, musical roles, creative ownership, and unresolved emotional history. Nell has moved into a new phase of life, focusing on a quieter existence and her chutney business, while Herb is still actively touring and struggling with the fading relevance of their former band McGuire Mortimer. Charles's lavish hospitality and obsession with their legacy both flatter and unsettle the musicians. As rehearsals begin, Herb resents being seen as a nostalgia act. He confronts Nell about feeling sidelined and misunderstood, especially when it becomes clear that Michael is unaware of the depth of Herb and Nell's shared history. Conflict arises when Herb finds out he is being paid less for the performance, triggering accusations and old wounds. Herb storms out and contemplates leaving the island entirely. Michael privately pleads with Herb to stay, explaining that he and Nell need the money and that Nell is too proud to admit it herself. Herb reluctantly returns. As rehearsals continue, Nell and Herb spar over song choices and artistic direction. Their conversations move from frustration to tenderness as they revisit memories, explore the blurred lines between love and music, and reflect on past decisions. They rehearse an old song and find their harmony intact, reigniting their creative spark. Charles, delighted, dubs their chemistry undeniable and urges them to perform again. Nell quietly considers her solo ambitions, showing Herb a mock-up of her new album featuring a different artist. Herb teases her, then earnestly expresses mixed feelings about their journey and his role in it. As Seaman's Day, a local island celebration, arrives, everyone joins in the festivities. Herb and Charles play tennis. Nell chats with Amanda, the shopkeeper, and the group settles into a fragile but warmer camaraderie. Amanda takes notice of Charles, hinting at romantic possibility. Meanwhile, Michael prepares to leave for a puffin-watching tour, promising to return in time for the gig. The group bonds over old photos and memories of a 2009 gig at the Roundhouse, which reminds them of the heights they once reached. Later, Nell and Herb perform together again, their performance moving Charles and confirming the special magic they still possess. Despite everything, Herb and Nell agree not to perform one specific old song that feels too emotionally loaded. They subtly acknowledge what was lost and gained between them without stating it outright. Charles praises their performance as transcendent. The day ends with the characters quietly content but aware that something meaningful has passed and may not return. Their performance is a bittersweet reminder of what once was and a nod to how they've changed. The story ends not with a grand resolution but with small gestures of connection, quiet reconciliation, and a shared understanding of time's effect on people, art, and love. Chris Herb McGuire, a once famous UK folk rock musician, is lured to a remote island under the guise of a casual invitation by Charles, an overly enthusiastic and well-meaning local who is hosting a music event in honor of his late wife Marie. Herb arrives with unresolved emotional baggage, especially tied to his past with Nell Mortimer, his former musical and romantic partner. Charles awkwardly tries to reignite their old chemistry by inviting Nell to the island as well. The encounter is laced with awkwardness, nostalgia, and miscommunication as Herb and Nell navigate their shared history. Charles, oblivious to the emotional complexities, continues pushing for a musical reunion. Herb and Nell briefly connect again musically and emotionally, singing together on the beach and lighting lanterns while making wishes. Herb misreads the moment, believing the spark between them could be rekindled. Nell shuts it down, revealing she is pregnant and uninterested in reviving their past. She accuses Herb of romanticizing what they had and urges him to grow up. Herb is devastated. Tensions escalate when Charles tries to apologize for orchestrating their reunion. Herb lashes out, blaming Charles for manipulating their emotions and exploiting them for his own idealistic tribute to Marie. After a stormy night of reflection and regret, Charles finds Herb seemingly swimming alone in dangerous conditions and fears a suicide attempt. In a panic, Charles jumps in to rescue him, nearly drowning in the process. Herb calmly explains he was just swimming, and the misunderstanding becomes a cathartic moment for both. Charles begs Herb to stay one more night and offers to pay him regardless of whether he performs. The next morning, Amanda, another islander who was invited to the gig, tells Charles that Herb has decided to perform after all. Charles, overjoyed, gathers people for the impromptu concert. Herb plays old favorites like Raspberry Fair and emotionally charged new material, including a final tribute to Marie. Unexpectedly, Nell's voice appears in the background vocals, revealing that she contributed to the track, providing closure rather than reunion. Herb then leaves the island, waving goodbye to Charles, who is left content despite the emotional chaos. In the closing scenes, Charles enjoys a quiet breakfast and listens to Skychild, another Herb song. The story ends with Herb recording a new track titled The Ballad of Wallis Island, a musical chronicle of his journey, his acceptance of loss, and his intention to move forward. The narrative explores grief, nostalgia, artistic identity, and the difficulty of reconciling the past with the present. It shows how people cling to emotional anchors, whether lost love or memories, and how healing comes not through revival but through release. Charles, though intrusive, represents sincere affection and community. Nell stands firm in her boundaries, asserting that self-preservation is more important than sentimentality. Herb, once frozen in nostalgia, begins to thaw. The island, initially a stage for possible reunion, becomes a space for truth, forgiveness, and artistic rebirth. Ultimately, no character gets exactly what they wanted, but each leaves changed. There's no grand reconciliation or explosive fallout, just the quiet, difficult grace of accepting what was and choosing what's next. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.